Hi students, this video is meant to help you with the actual paper you're going to be writing for Project 2, Case 2 that is, multi-movies. So take a look at the contents page that I provided for you. You need to have these things in there in this order, please, so that I can know where they are to find them. The first thing is the cover page. I need it professional looking, and it helps a lot to use one of Word's cover page options because it gives you places to put things and it looks very nice. So go ahead and use that. There's the heading, it's listed, and the information that needs to be in that first page. Then you have, next would be you have the table of contents. Make sure that all of those things are listed. Use the right tab for the page numbers so that they align with the end of the paper. Remember, you'll have an executive summary in this one too, and most of you did a fine job last time. Basically, you have to remember it's not an introduction to the topic, but rather a summary of the whole paper, everything you did in the paper, a few sentences of each topic, approximately. And so it should only be about one page, and so you need to take out anything that's not vital and just put the important things in there. Now, this piece, external competitiveness development, is the whole purpose of this paper. And so all of these steps underneath it are implementing that external competitiveness development. And so what is it you're trying to do in this project case? What you're trying to do in this project is you're trying to price a job structure. That is, you want to find salaries for your jobs in your company that are similar to those in the marketplace. And so you want to know what's going on in the marketplace, and then you're going to make a decision how you're going to pay relative to that. And generally, you're going to match it, lead it, or lag it. But the whole idea is you want to be somewhat close to what the market says. However, you don't want to just pick what the market says. You want to also include the idea of internal consistency. You don't want your jobs to be this job really high and this job really low because the market says so. You want to have those jobs high and low, but kind of within a range. And so you want to incorporate both your internal consistency that you've already developed, which is the points, and your external competitiveness, which is the dollar amounts that are out there in the marketplace. You're going to connect the value internal and the value external to make your salaries. Okay, and so that's basically what's happening. Next, we have the decide the pay policy level. The pay policy, as I mentioned a moment ago, is either lead, lag, or match, and that's in general for a job structure, an entire job structure. Are you going to lead, lag, or match on those salaries? That means, are the salaries going to be above the market slightly, or below the market, or on the market? And you tell me which you talked about why you might choose one or the others. Pay policy, if you had more than one structure, you could have lead with this one and lag with that one if you wished. Many of you don't, but that is certainly a possibility. Then, I had on there percentage used to implement the program doesn't allow you to put in a percentage. They want you to use, what do you call that, percentiles or quartiles. So just leave that alone. The next piece will be modify a salary structure using the program. Now this is the thing that helps you to do the computations. You could, I guess, do it by hand, but we don't want to do any of that stuff by hand. We've got a program that's going to help us do that. And so what Comp Analysis does is it has for you a bank of salary survey data. And it allows you to pick and choose which data you're going to look at and use for your analysis. And so the program then asks you, okay, what pieces are you interested in? And I'll show you what, then it'll show you what the data is for those particular pieces. So the comp analysis is a salary survey program results, that you have the results and you're going to look at certain results. Okay, and so here is the introduction to the section, which is why would you do a survey? Why do a salary survey in the first place? And that's what that's about. And then choose competitors for your company. Here, this is which companies in the salary survey do you wish to compare yourself against? A lot of companies in there, and there may be there are companies from pharmaceuticals and from hardware and software, and there's all kinds of different data in there, and you have to decide, okay, do I want to compare myself to pharmaceuticals, large companies, small companies, any of those things? And this is where you pick which ones you think are going to match you better. The ones that you choose are going to have different salary amounts in their survey results than other ones. And so you want to pick the ones that you think are valuable. In general, you have to explain why you're comparing yourself to certain types of jobs. And when it says competitors, it doesn't mean specific competitors. It means types of companies that you're going to compare yourself against. Okay, in order to do this, now you're going to choose the benchmark jobs for each structure, which you've already done in the comp analysis. The whole idea behind this is we're not going to price every single job. No. Instead, we're going to choose certain jobs that are good for comparisons, which are benchmark jobs. And we're going to use those to determine the regression analysis, to determine the way the jobs are going to be paid. And then we're going to apply those results to all the jobs. So you may only use 5 jobs for your regression analysis, but all 15 jobs will be paid based on that analysis. So when you use the benchmark jobs, you want to match the jobs with the salary survey jobs, and I explained that before. The update the salary data is done because the data that you have in this salary survey is old. It has been collected over time. It's stored in the database. And by the time you pull it up and you decide and then you put it in place in your company, it's going to be old. And so you don't want the dollar amounts to be too old because you're starting with old data. And so what you do is you update that data. So that's what's going to go there. Implement the salary survey results. This is about connecting external value and internal value. So the external competitiveness, the dollar amounts that you have in the salary survey need to be connected with the internal value, as we mentioned. And we do that through a statistical approach called the regression analysis. And that makes that connection. It builds a regression line which predicts the salary for any job in the company based on internal value and external value. And so that's what that's about. And interpret the results for each structure means what's the R squared? The R squared for each of those. And as I said, I'm hoping that you can have a 0.80 or better if you possibly can. Closer to 1 is better. And so you want to have an R squared that is close to 1 as possible, above at 0.80. And so that means that the salary data that you have is similar to the market for those jobs that you have picked. So in other words, that means you have a pretty good match between the internal value that you've chosen and the external value of those jobs. You value them the same way the market values them. That's what that means. Okay, so that's the first step, would be the regression analysis. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to instead we're going to incorporate that information, but we're going to build structures. And so the structures we're going to build would be your job structure is going to be translated, and we're going to actually group jobs together that have similar value and separate them out, as I mentioned in the earlier video. And so what we're going to do then is we're going to develop a pay range for each of those pay grades, which has a minimum, midpoint, and a maximum salary. And in this particular part of the paper, you're actually just working with grades and ranges. You're not talking about the individual jobs, just grades and ranges. So I showed you an example earlier in class that talked about implement survey results, and a resultant table that you might have in your paper would look similar to this. Again, the numbers would be different because these are numbers I made up, but you would have the job value and then what grade that means, the min, mid, and max. And again, that you're not making this up. It's the comp analysis program generates it for you using the companies you chose, updating it by the amount that you said, and all of that, so that it's all reflected in those dollars that are in that that piece in the printout, the final printout, where it has the dollar amounts at the top, and then it has for the grades at the top, and then it has the actual salary amounts at the bottom, but you're going to ignore the salary amounts at the bottom. That is for that piece. Okay, next will be the results table. This is where you introduce your results. What you're trying to get to in this whole paper is, what is each job worth? What is each job going to be paid? And so key is having each job listed in order, high to low, and then next to it you're going to have its salary. And each job that of the 15 has to be listed, and each job has to have its minimum, midpoint, and maximum next to it. Where you get those is from the job grade. If they're in a certain grade, they get that rate. So the second thing that I showed you in class was this results table, and this would be the final results of the whole project, project 2. And so you would have all your jobs listed, all 15 jobs, the grade each of those jobs is in, and the minimum, midpoint, and maximum for each of those jobs. You'll notice that some jobs have the same grade and therefore the same min, mid, and max, and that's perfectly correct. That's the way you want to have it happen. And jobs that are separate, different grades, will have a different amount. So notice that those two are the same, the marketing director is the same, and that's correct. And then finally is the discussion or summary. This is a short section, no more than a page, half a page, where you look at what you've gotten and you kind of summarize what you think that tells the company. And basically what it tells the company is the value of the jobs and the dollar amounts that that's associated with. And it also tells them that their jobs are being paid fairly compared to the marketplace, and also incorporating the the internal value of the company, of the company's jobs. And so you have a pay structure that includes internal consistency, and also, more importantly, connects that internal consistency with what the market is saying should be paid for those jobs, as well as your pay decisions. And finally, I'd like the printouts. For each structure, you have 3 graphs, and I'd like a picture of each of those, printout of each of those graphs attached. And those would be appendices. They don't have to be further explained. I'm hoping this helped, and I'll see you on Tuesday.